r/askreddit realtors of Reddit. What's the most disturbing history you've learned about a house you were selling? The lady next door to me died and wasn't found until she was more liquid than solid on her living room carpet. The family couldn't pay something about back taxes or something, and the house went to HUD to auction. HUD paid for some cleanup, but not to replace the carpet, only steam clean it. So it finally sold, and was talking to the guy who was flipping it. Before I could mention the death, he asked if the house had a water leak under the foundation, because when they ripped up the carpet and pad to put down the lament floor, it was really dirty and got all over them and their clothes. Told him what happened and how HUD went cheap on what to fix before the auction. He got green as a pea and started puking right there on his side of the fence. **ing hell. She liquefied and they only steam cleaned the carpet? Don't leave grannies in the sun too long or they melt. I guess in Florida they melt, and in Arizona they just get mummified. My grandma sells/rents houses in the Denver area. A few weeks ago I had to help her evict a few college brothers from one of her properties. This is a cottage style home, no second floor, no basement. These guys literally dug a hole in the wood floor and made a basement where they've been throwing trash away for the last year. Like it's a living room with a TV and a couple armchairs and a giant hole in the ground filled with ice cream wrappers, pizza boxes, and cigarette butts. That seems like 1000x more effort than just taking the garbage out. LMAO, you know, taking out the garbage is a real pain in the SS. I'm going to perform back-breaking manual labor inside my house to avoid walking 20 feet to the street with a small bag of trash. Sweet idea, bro. Get the shovel. My parents were realtors and also flipped houses. When I was growing up I used to help them a lot, usually by cleaning. When I was 12 I was helping with a house that was infested with roaches. I noticed the closets were smeared with shit and children's handprints. There were fingernail scratches on the insides of the doors as well. I asked my parents why this was the case. They told me the old tenants used to lock their toddlers in the closets for days. My cousin was kept in his room like that by his mom and dad. His mom got into a car accident and his dad didn't want to take care of him and his sister, so my mom got them. Boy child was 3 and not yet potty trained, called all women mommy and cried if a man held him. His vocabulary was about 8 words. Mommy, hungry, ow, no, yeah, Jimmy, and I think there were a few more, but I remember those. He eventually picked up mine, which was used for people he liked. I was mine to him for a while, then became my first name. His dad got custody back from my mom when he found out he could get welfare for them. Boy child and girl child both screamed and reached for me when they were being taken back, and I think I'll never forget that feeling. That's heartbreaking. I'm so sorry for everyone involved. Do you know how they're doing now? How about the one I bought? A kid drowned in the pool. So far every person that I have met asks me, you know what happened there, right? People are nosy. My mother passed away in my childhood home, which my dad eventually sold. Years later, my brother was picking up the youth group kids, and one teen got in and said our house is haunted. Years ago, a lady died in there. My brother looked her dead in the eye and said she was my mom actually. Poor kid burst into tears immediately. My brother has such a horribly dry sense of humor that is both incredibly morbid and the funniest thing I've read all day. When I was looking for my last house, I went with my wife and realtor to look at several houses. We went to look at one house in particular because it didn't seem like the price they were asking for could be real. Huge house sitting on tons of land without buildings, going for millions under market value. We got there, and the realtor said, oh, I should mention, a serial killer lived here, and when he was put away cops found 11 bodies on the property. Source: oh, well that'll do it. I think owning this house would make me perpetually afraid of coming across a 12th body digging a vegetable patch or something. Yeah, but you'd have the perfect alibi for that dead body buried in the backyard. Yes, Mr. Police Officer, we bought this house from a serial killer. I guess they forgot one body. Oopsie. Don't know how my wife got there at all. The body's still decomposing. That's really weird. Not that I was buying, but one I was visiting. I went to visit my sister in California, and once I flew and I wanted to shower. Well, I took a long enough shower that the mirror was all steamy when I got out, except one tiny dot in the middle of the mirror. My immediate thought process was, oh weird. I guess if you draw on a mirror with Expo it won't steam around it. So I went to go investigate, and upon looking right up to it, I realized it was a ref camera lens. Well, I freaked and ran out to her room and dressed, then went and told her. We went around our back and looked in a utility closet type thing that looked like it was in line with her room. Sure enough, the drywall had been cut away and repatched at some point. We cut it open, and while there was no camera there was a little lens still stuck to the mirror. It's real freaky to think whoever was getting actually spied on, and if they ever actually knew. Eek. I had a neighbor who just moved out of a rental where a stalker had broken in secretly and put up wireless cameras everywhere, and she didn't discover it for a really long time. She was pretty nervous all the time. Even though I was nice, I think just me being a guy made her uncomfortable. She had a huge dog. I hope she's okay now. Not a realtor, but I used to rent an apartment that was in a converted Victorian asylum. It was rumored to be haunted, but I never heard or saw anything whilst living there. When I met with a letting agent to hand the keys back at the property and for him to run through a final inspection, he asked if we had been happy there. I said something to the effect of yes, but we were only moving as the landlord had it up for sale. It became clear he was after some kind of ghost story, as he explained that none of his colleagues liked going to any apartments in the building because when taking photos to market one of them, the red eye detector kept triggering on his phone when no one was in frame. The poor guy looked nervous as hell the whole time we were there. This is actually a really common glitch when taking photos in old buildings like this. It's caused by the light reflecting off the red eyes of the unquiet dead roaming the space between this world and the next. Oh, that's reassuring. I thought it was something terrifying like a camera glitch. I photograph homes. It's normal, people die in homes. I photographed a few homes where the reason for sale was a recent suicide in the home. I photographed a new home that the builder killed himself in the garage just before the project was complete. The weirdest one was mostly very creepy and suspicious. I photographed a billionaire's compound where the guy had an absurd fascination with flesh. There were well over 50 heads mounted on walls from water buffalo to elephant. 5 to 10 large cats, stuffed. Chandeliers made from the feathers of rare birds. Stools made from elephant feet/legs. They were hairy. Ugh. Paintings and abstract photos of oily skin, veiny muscles of humans and animals, etc, etc. I looked for his kill room, but I never found it. In general, I find billionaires don't behave like normal people, but this one was particularly weird. Did you see his vest? Made from real gorilla chest, or his loafers made from gophers? They're the best. Take this sweater, nothing better than authentic Irish setter. Not a realtor. I think we would say estate agent here. The flat opposite my house was occupied for a couple of years by a lovely young man. Long hair, goth clothing, may not be the right word, but it. I'm old, super polite if a bit reserved. He hanged himself in the flat one day. I only found out afterwards that he had had a liver transplant some years before and was worried his new liver was failing. I wish I could have helped him. I used to see him at my doctor's surgery. I had a new and sickly baby and was there a lot. So was he, but we just said hi, how are you, etc. So sad for him. The flat has been occupied since by a succession of young couples. I've never said a word in case it troubles them, but I've tried harder since to let them know I'm there if they ever need a friend. Being young and just starting out can be lonely. You sound like a lovely person. My aunt is a realtor and was selling a house that a lady owned but was renting out to her college-age son and a few of his friends. When they went to do the first walkthrough, so my aunt could take pictures and such, it was apparent the lady hadn't been in the house in ages. Every single room had a TV, a chair, a box of Kleenex, and a bottle of lotion. They were literally just jacking it with each other all over the house all the time. The lady was so embarrassed. I just imagined all these guys running to their jacking stations and the camera cutting to each of them to say their catchphrase, like when the Power Rangers were combining their animal-based mech vehicles. But instead of creating a humanoid robot manned by superhero teenagers, it's just a house that starts violently shaking. Edit. Thanks for the gold. When you said that, my brain first went to Captain Planet and they all had individual skills they shouted like speed, friction, viscosity, not a realtor, but when the sold sign went up on our last house a neighbor came over and said, "Now you're moving out. Would you like to know about your house's history?" Turned out the previous owner was a heroin dealer who allowed his customers to shoot up in the living room. Explains the brown arcs all over the walls when we stripped the wallpaper. He also used to pimp his wife out from an upstairs room, our then bedroom. Lovely. Edit. Color. As many of you have quite rightly pointed out, blood dries brown not red. If it had still been red, the giveaway probably would have been the users legging it out the back when we moved in. Call me naive, but how does injecting heroin stain the wall?